A short story by Paul McCann. Mum, Me, and Mangoes. Chickie, otherwise Mum, as I call her, is the love of my life. Chickie and I were married young and had a large family. As the kids arrived on steps, one after the other, I got so used to calling her Mum, the name stuck. Mum and me and the kids on the farm were happy living until the drought came. Things were tough all over, and it was very hard for us. And then we had some relations arrive on our doorstep. Our little nipper was only 2 years old. He slept in a wooden box that once had mangoes in it when times were better. Mum and I used to grow mangoes on the property until the rain stopped coming. We always had a wooden box, and we kept it as a reminder of the good times. Mum and I loved our mangoes. People often said we had the number one grade mango in the country, and trucks used to leave our property every day with the trucks filled with mango boxes bound for the city markets. Now all of that seemed like a dream, and the dust lies where once green grass had grown. Twilight fell, and I watched Mum bathe the little nipper in the steel tub in the kitchen and scrape the last meat off the pig's back for our dinner. There are 12 of us living on the farm and barely enough to feed 5 of us. After dinner we all went to bed. Rumbling tummies were heard, and Mum and I, we closed our eyes with silent prayers for the rain to come soon. Another dawn arrived, with the kookaburras laughing, with another empty promise of the rain. Soft tropical breeze cut sweeping and whispering sweet memories of the river that once ran through our property. The drought had moved in and overstayed her welcome, and the landlady of time had not yet evicted her. It's been dry too long. Mum and I have been looking after the kids as best we could, with both of us trying to make hay while the sun shone greener pastures elsewhere. We travelled around other properties doing seasonal work, cutting cane, picking olives and bananas, while the kids were looked after by the relatives at home on the farm. The passing of time saw Mum and I grow more disappointed and tired of life on the farm. In fact, the seasonal work we did for other folk at harvest time was a welcome escape from the heartache of the dust that kept blowing around the door on our own property. All our mango trees had died, so we couldn't afford feed for the sheep. It was cheaper to buy bullets than food, so we sold that to the butchers. Cattle had already been sold for half of what they were worth, but at least we were able to get something back and pay off our outstanding debts to the bank and carry on living on the farm. It was difficult for us in the drought, but we kept trying. I often looked at that old rusty tin roof over our heads and wanted to walk away from the harsh existence. It seemed like a step away from hell at times, but somewhere there in the flies and the dust there was also a little piece of heaven, with the hope that maybe if we stick it out through another dry season we would get to appreciate the return of the mangoes again. For 6 years now, Mum and I had been without mangoes, and the little nipper was now almost 7. I still remember the day when she gave him a pair of my old work boots, and she said, "Oh, well, son, it's almost time for you to go out and do some work around the farm." That day the galahs came and perched on the fence and had a laugh along with us at the little nipper, who had no idea of what was so funny. He tried out the old boots of mine and walked around like Frankenstein all that morning. I watched Mum as she stood at the stove cooking breakfast. We all loved those pancakes of hers. Every morning I said the same thing to her.
Aye, how's the weather out there, Mum? Are the mangoes ready for picking yet?
Little Nipper always repeated what I said, and Mum never answered as she turned over the pancakes.
Aye, did you hear the kookaburras laughing early on this morning?
I asked her. I did, she said.
So it looks like rain's on the way, Mum. We might have to get all the mangoes in the boxes by tomorrow.
Then I went over and stood beside her and put my arm around her. She took the pancakes from the pan and placed them on a plate and handed to me, saying, "How is that fence down by the dry desert come, dear?" Ah, with a muttered response, due to half mouth filled with pancakes, I replied,
"I fixed it yesterday."
Quick as a flash, she asked, "Did you see that Brumby around yet?" I shook my head and answered,
"Nah, I think it's gone elsewhere."
As I began to make my way over to the kitchen table, she called after me, "Well then, tell me, you don't mind living out here on the property with the flies and the dust?" I stepped back and looked and said,
"Nah, Mum, I told you. Where else could we go?"
She took off her apron and said, "Okay then, I guess we're stuck here then. Tell everyone food's on the table and tell breakfast is on the boil and there's a lot of work to be done around the place today." With that, she headed out to the kitchen and into the shed. So there we all were sitting down, eating pancakes and drinking tea, and I thought about how times had changed for us and how we learned to adapt and adjust, just like Mother Nature does, to the bushfires and the drought. The gum trees need the fires to help to germinate the seeds so they can regrow. And in the desert, the plants send their roots deeper down, waiting for the monsoon rains to come. And then we see the flowers blooming in the desert. It's funny how things happen. From adversity, there is often a sense of humour in life that comes. Recently I wrote a letter to a TV show in the city where I invited them to come to our property for a home-cooked breakfast, and I signed the letter from a farmer who wants some rain. I still remember the day all those media people arrived with their cameras, and her mum had to cook up a breakfast for 60 people. I still don't know how she did that, but there was more than enough food to go around. About a week later, we had some offers of assistance, and as a few large cash donations came in to help us with the hard times on the farm, we were feeling a bit better. After the bushy breakfast was broadcast on TVs all over the country, we felt like celebrities for a while. Mum came back from the shed. She stood staring at me with this look on her face. She never spoke. I could tell there was something.
What's wrong, Mum?"
I asked. It's happened," she replied.
"What's happened, Mum?"
I said.
"It's starting to rain."
I ran outside, and there we all stood. We started to sing and dance and scream and shout as the rain came tumbling down from the sky. Who knows how or why things happen, but after the drought-breaking rain, I contacted the TV show again to thank them for coming, and also I invited them back to the farm again. Maybe it was Providence, but they said how they all loved Mum's pancakes and that they would love to return to the farm. The rain never stopped, and on the morning that the TV crew were arriving, I had welcome home to the farm posters made up, and Mum was busy cooking her pancakes. I was astounded when the truck after truck came rolling in with people coming from everywhere, and the trucks unloaded a score or more of advanced grown mango trees and workers to plant them around our property. That moment was captured live on cameras by the TV show, and the response was amazing from all over the country. Our mango orchard appeared right there before our very eyes, and as water began to trickle down again along dry Desert Gum River, I stood there with Mum, and we were both laughing as the little nipper walked over to us with me old work boots on, asking what he could do to help. Families like us are lucky, I guess, living on the land in the good and the bad times that come. Nothing is ever more reassuring as the help we got from others who understand the struggle we face every day and the want to help us through. Mum and I tasted our first crop of mangoes, and they were the sweetest harvest that we had ever grown. The future on the farm now looks good, with many thanks to our good friends from all over the country. Life on the farm is good, and so are the mangoes too. The end.